Hi everyone, my name is Claudio Menezes and I'm Damia Group Portugal CEO. Let me start by sharing you how hard it was to set up this meeting, but I think we are here, 190 attendees. Wow, that's a really a cool number. And we are, personally, I'm very excited to share with you the Damia HTTP, pun intended, of course. HTTP stands for Hiring Tech Talent in Portugal, and welcome to our biggest event, or Damia biggest event. This online event is composed by two big moments. The first, a 30 minutes presentation and some Q&A moment that will unveil our great document, the 2024 Damia Tech Salary Benchmark, where we partnered for the first time with Coverflex. That had a very interesting insight, as you can see it in some brief moments. And thanks for that, Coverflex, for being always a big supportive on our tech community. This salary benchmark is I would put a very big collective effort for all Damians involved, which I take this chance to thank them for this hard work. This document serves three different audiences, or four different audiences, as you want to call it. The first one, of course, is the tech community itself. In order you can see if you are being fairly paid as a tech employee, I would say. The second is for hiring managers and HR professional, for obvious reasons. They can see, of course, if they are doing it well on when they are setting up all the comp and ben topics on your company. And of course, for companies that are evaluating Portugal for their newest tech hubs, which of course I'm biased, but I think is a very good choice. You can also download the Damia Salary Benchmark on our website on damiagroup.pt. And the second big moment is a 45 minutes roundtable plus Q&A around the topic, the true cost of attractiveness, with some very special guests. My brother-in-arms, Elio Costa, partner and head of strategy and operations at Damia Group Portugal. Sorin Ticrea, former senior director at Farfetch, former Talkdesk and Microsoft employee. And Manjuri Singha, global director and talent success and DAE at OLX. And our dearest also, João Franqueira, Coverflex Chief of People Officer, and will work as a moderator. So, with no further ado, let me call on stage our dearest Ricardo Andrade and Angela, that will present you the event. There they are, and the stage is yours.
Hi everyone, and thank you, Claudio. Thank you for the intro. And also, I'll start to share my screen in a second, and we'll get the engine running. Okay, so just a quick thank you note, just to subscribe on what Claudio just said, but a special thank you to the team and to everyone that took part of this research. It was a collective effort, no doubt about that. There are only two faces here, but there's a collective effort from several teams, and in specific my team as well. And a huge thank you to Deborah as well, who was highly involved, but also Claudio and Elio and all the team that put the work and made this possible. Here, just a quick introduction. I'm Ricardo, head of permanent recruitment at Damia. I've been with Damia for the past 4 years and a half, and with us as well, the one and only Angela.
Hi, I'm Angela. I'm an IT recruiter at Damia Group Portugal, and I'm part of the permanent recruitment team, and I've been with Damia for the past 2.5 years.
All right, to start, a quick intro notes, and I'll bring my inner Simon Sinek, and I'll start with the why. And basically the why drives us to 2023 and beyond as well. So last year's version was a significant milestone for the company. We released our first salary benchmark, and it came of the context of being in the market and trying to understand exactly what were the market expectations, what was exactly the market asking for when it comes to compensation and salaries and whatnot. And from our perception at that time and throughout the years, there were several studies that were being released, but none of them effectively reflect what was the market asking for, what were candidates asking for. And given that, instead of sitting in a chair and complain about everything, we decided to release our first benchmark, which happened in 2023. And after that, given the outstanding feedback we collected throughout the year, the only thing right to do was to release another one and keep releasing, if everything goes well, year after year. Of course, our goal is to add value, as Claudio mentioned, not only to candidates who are in a certain role and seeking for a new opportunity, but also for companies who are hiring and wish to remain competitive. Yeah, he's still sharing the screen. And to remain competitive and make sure that every decision they make is well informed and not based on gut feeling, but on data that adds value and that allows them to make well-informed decisions, as I said before.
Yeah, so just to contextualize our study, so last year we noticed that the tide did turn. In 2023, the global economy is still recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic, however, with uneven progress. So while developed economies were able to rebound, emerging markets still face obstacles due to factors such as trade dynamics, geopolitics, and also economic policies that will influence global growth. But also inflation is still a concern due to supply chain disruptions, high demand, and also the rise of the commodity prices. And in this context, we have noticed a flip in the market with less job opportunities arising. And to companies to be successful, they need to adapt and due to policy effectiveness, economic resilience, and also addressing these ongoing issues. And taking into account this need to adapt, our study may come as a useful toolkit, a valuable toolkit for companies to actually be successful in 2024.
That's it. And a quick overview of our table of contents, what we'll address towards throughout our presentation. We'll start by explaining a little bit about the methodology that we used for this study. We'll then deep dive into the tech insights, where we'll explore a bit about several roles such as backend, front-end, QA, DevOps, among others. We'll then have a section about adding value to your job offer, where we count with data that were provided by our friends of Coverflex. And last but not least, we'll share with you the 2024 tech salary benchmark. And at the end of our presentation, there'll be some time for questions and answers that we'll try to reply as much as we can. Starting by the methodology. So this study counts on 6 years of data that were collected. This represents over 4,000 candidates that somehow participated in our recruitment process and that shared in this process the salary expectations that they had for a certain process. And in our opinion, that's a very valuable contribute in a way that it reflects much more what is to be attractive and what would be attractive for them to accept another offer rather than a result of a survey that comes from a sample and whatnot. So given that, the salary expectations was what we used for the comparison that we are going to share with you. Of course, all data was standardized and put into classes, tags, and other main topics, but also worth mentioning that all data was anonymized in the way that no personal data was used throughout the process and throughout the study. Worth mentioning about seniority. We've decided to choose the years of experience as an indicator of seniority, but of course we understand that the years of experience are not the sole indicator for it. So there are other factors that indeed might mean more seniority or less seniority, such as the product company versus consultancy companies, engineering practices, engineering background, and all these sort of topics that also add or can represent seniority or mean seniority. For the sake of having a fair comparison, we use the years of experience.
Yeah. So now diving into the main insights of our study, so namely market demand, talent availability, and salaries. But before, just to give a bit of an overview of the demographics and a distribution of our sample, the majority of our sample is constituted by senior backend developers, and most of them live in Lisbon. We have 55% of our sample and 20% in Porto. However, cities such as Setúbal, Aveiro, and Braga are also gradually attracting more talent with a larger number of candidates. And further to the south, Faro is also a new and growing talent pool. And taking this context into account, creation of hubs and offices in other areas not as populated as Porto and Lisbon, and also promoting remote work policies may be a good strategy for companies to be able to attract a larger and more diverse talent pool. Now, in terms of the specific roles we explored in our study, now starting with the backend, we can see there has been a steady increase of the salaries for senior backend developers in the past years, especially between 2020 and 2021, a significant rise in the salaries. And if we look now into the specific programming languages, frameworks, and libraries, we can see that C# and Java are still amongst the most popular, but also in addition to Python. However, despite C# and Java continuous high demand in the market, their salaries didn't increase as much. So while Java was still a good career choice this past year in terms of opportunities with 20.6% of market share, C# developers have been steady across the years, but due to the layoffs in the past two years and also several other market factors, companies were able to find this talent fairly easy, and this established a pressure on the C# developers' salaries. However, as we can see, Python is paying one of the most attractive salaries in the market so far. So along with this popularity increase, in fact, Python's demand has skyrocketed recently, but the talent availability is still short, which may justify the rise in the salaries. Projects related to artificial intelligence and machine learning are growing fields in software development, and being Python one of the main programming languages associated with these types of projects, its demand increased significantly among backend developers. In fact, 2023 alone, Python reached 19.7% of market requests for backend professionals, which is significant.
Jumping on to the front-end side of things, you can notice that throughout the years, front-end has noticed a steady increase of an average of roughly 7% per year, and that's no exception for 2022 to 2023. The growth has been 7.68%. Amongst the programming languages or frameworks or libraries that have been more popular, React is on top of it, followed by Angular, and only then native JavaScript on the third position. And in terms of the compensation between the different libraries, it's sort of evened out. If you notice, Vue, React, and Angular, they are quite even in terms of the compensation that you can see in the charts bar. TypeScript and native JavaScript fell a little below, but is still very close to what the remaining ones are offering in terms of compensation. One thing worth mentioning is, of course, the dominance of React over the past few years, since 2016, roughly. And that's something that companies need to be aware of, and when making the technical decisions, if they decide to go for React, for instance, they need to be aware that they either will disputing highly competitive candidates that have loads of opportunities and are fairly challenging to get to the process, or otherwise they need to be ready for the training costs that they will need to support in converting candidates from different backgrounds and convert them into React, for instance. As for the full stack, we still believe that the 50-50 full stack is sort of a mythological creature that we still yet to find, but is something that has been highly requested over the past few years, and in particular, the last year was highly noticeable in that aspect. Nonetheless, the growth of the wage for a full stack has not increased significantly since 2018 to 2023, and the last 2022 to 2023 was no different, and the growth has been 0.8% year on year. As per the combinations of programming languages / frameworks, libraries, and so on, C# with Angular has been one of the popular combinations, but also Java with Angular, and also the JavaScript full stack with React and Node.js as well has been highly popular and highly demanding in the market as well. When it comes to compensation and average salary per year, Ruby is one of the highest paying programming languages for full stack professionals, and that's of course motivated by talent shortage in the market that implies pressure towards the salary.
Yeah, so now diving into the mobile professionals, the salary evolutions, as we can see, have been of constant and stable growth across the years, with a year-on-year growth of 6.57%. However, if you look now to the specific technologies, 2023 was a year that narrowed the difference in pay between Android and iOS developers. And additionally, many companies are now adopting cross-platform development tools and frameworks such as React Native and Flutter that allow now developers to write code that can run both on Android and iOS, and is much more cost efficient for companies. And this drove then a significant increase in the demand in the market for these types of professionals. Now, talking about software quality assurance, companies are now much more aware of the importance of quality assurance in the development teams, and this then drove an increase of salaries and demand, particularly between 2018 until 2021. However, in the past 2 years, this growth has been relatively residual. In terms of specific test automation tools, we can see amongst the most popular that no other tool was able to dethrone Selenium. That is still the most popular test automation tool in the market. And Cypress, however, has gained popularity more recently. And if we now look further and want to analyze further the most popular QA automation frameworks and tools in the market, so Selenium, Cypress, and also Robot Framework, we can do a comparison with some of the most popular programming languages in the market as well, so respectively Java, JavaScript, and Python. However, if we now look into the annual salary of these tools, we can see that it's fairly balanced without any significant difference between them.
Coming to the end of our tech insights, you can find much more on our research that you can download in our website. But talking a little bit before we proceed to the next stage for DevOps and SREs. So basically, the salary has increased significantly since 2019 to 2022, and it sort of stabilized in 2022 to 2023. The growth has been very small when compared to other roles. One thing that we did notice is, of course, the growth of cloud technology, and even more than ever, companies require DevOps to have experience with cloud technologies. And the main one, of course, is AWS, followed by Azure, and then GCP. On the opposite, GCP is one of the highest paying cloud technologies due to, of course, a smaller talent pool due to a small talent pool.
In terms of perks and benefits, and for this portion of our study, we count on Coverflex's data from their study, The State of Compensation, a study on the future of work and the work of the future in Portugal. Some of the most important questions we can ask is, what else can companies offer rather than just the base salary per se? And what do candidates value the most? And in conclusion, what can be the differential factor from a standard offer? And as we know, Coverflex is an expert in flexible benefits, and for this reason, this is where we begin. Defining then flexible benefits. What are flexible benefits? They are other forms of compensation apart from the base salary that can cover other things that also matter to employees. Some of the most popular forms of flex benefits are, for example, support with education and training expenses, health insurance, health and wellness expenses, some benefits related to gym and fitness, and support with technology expenses. These are only a few. There are many others. And from Coverflex's data, we can see that 69% of the inquired people already have flexible benefits, while 15% doesn't, and the remaining 60% doesn't know what flexible benefits are. And this being said, there is already a decent adoption of flex benefits as a way of providing a more diverse compensation, but there is still room and there is still further to explore in this regard, and raise the discussion of what else can companies do and to remain competitive. That is not just the salary per se. This being said, another increasing topic of discussion is then how to diversify the salary components. Another strategy that has been employed is to offer stock options or equity on top of the salary. Was a practice that was not as relevant a few years back, but has gained weight more recently and has gradually been more appreciated by candidates. And according to Coverflex's research, 46% of people are interested in having stock, but don't have them yet. And this is because it is still a relatively moderate practice in the Portuguese tech market. However, besides the talk about compensation package, including both more traditional forms of pay, such as the base salary, and also flexible benefits, the new working generation are placing a higher importance on other matters, such as the company's mission, vision, and culture. And for the companies to have a clear understanding of the significance of these variables is crucial to attract and retain talent in a much more competitive environment.
Yes, so taking on what Angela just mentioned, over the past few years, we've noticed a sort of a shift in the working context, and that tells by the fact of how employees perceive work, and that has changed and is gradually changing over the past few years. If a few years back there was a high focus on the company and very work-driven, candidates now appreciate a better work-life integration, and they value other stuff that previously were not there, such as flexibility and remote working. Even 4-day work week is something that is highly appreciated, but also the purpose of the company. Candidates do like to be part of companies that they can relate with the purpose. So the old-fashioned caveman typing code that goes somewhere and does something somewhere that no one really understands is no longer something that is highly desired by candidates as well. But also the inclusive environment. Candidates prefer to be part of companies where they feel that they are respected and valued as professionals and as people as well. But other topics such as career development and learning. So the focus in the careers and the perspectives of growth amongst that same company is something that is highly appreciated as well. And the overall mental health and well-being is something that is highly appreciated by candidates and is taken in consideration when accepting a new challenge or not. So that's mainly the motto that is behind this, is that in fact the work is super important, but it shouldn't bypass the personal life. And that's the main concept that comes out of the shift in the work context as well. One of the hottest topics as well is, of course, the working policies, and we call it the clash. Since in 2023, we've noticed back to the office set up by most of the companies. But what exactly do candidates want? So from our research, the full in-office position is not something that is highly appreciated by candidates. Companies that decide to go in that direction have a much more challenging task to attract candidates. And on the opposite also, companies who only go full remote also have a more challenging task as well, regardless of being more attractive, of course, but still have a task in a way that now candidates appreciate as well, that there is an office. Even if they don't go there quite often, the possibility of having that is something that is highly appreciated from the candidate side as well. So the main thing to take away from this is the word flexibility. From our research, candidates do appreciate the fact that they want to be committed to the company, they want to be part of the team, they want to build meaningful relationships, but they would like their employers to trust on them to choose when and how often they go to the office and how often they commute to this to these sort of arrangements as well. So therefore, companies, when decide to go either way regarding the working policies, need to be aware of the implicit trade-off that is the talent availability, and how can that be or not be attractive to potential candidates as well. And that's it. So I'll share with you our salary benchmark. I know that this might be a bit challenging to read for you at home, but you can download on our website. I'll type in our website in a few seconds as well. And the whole study will be available and is available already for download online. and we leave now some room for questions and answers. And you can type in the questions and answers section that you have on your side as well. And we'll try to answer as much as we can. And we have a question. I'll start answering. Let's see. It's a question from Ricardo Rocho. What can we expect of in 2025? Will they increase on expectations or independent? Yes, so it's a great question from Ricardo. So from what we've seen so far, and we are already in February, things seem to be trying to bounce back. I don't believe that we're going back to the rush that it was last year or a year and a half ago. Things are sort of correcting themselves, and we were in the direction of a bubble somehow, and this has corrected. And in my opinion, in 2025, we'll go in the same direction with eventually a slight increase when compared to 2020, 23, 24, and 25 onwards. And that's it. We have another question. If we anticipate. Yes, that's a very good question. We do believe that AI will transform the market in several ways, not only for tech professionals, but also for us that work in the tech, but we are the side gig as well. But yes, so there will be an increase of Python developers or requests for Python developers. We've already noticed that throughout 2023 towards the end, and even in 2024, we are noticing that. And of course, it seems to be correlated. Of course, some of the companies who have AI solutions or develop AI or machine learning choose Python as the main programming language, and that is raising the request for them and consequently raising the salaries. So yes, I believe so. What was the most challenging part of creating this study? What surprises did we have? Angela, do you want to go?
Yeah, I can go. So in terms of the most challenging part was analyzing the data. Of course, it's a lot of data, a lot of years, and a lot of candidates. What surprises I had? I mean, we had a notion of the stabilizing of the salaries as a whole, but it was very obvious when we saw the graphs and the numbers that, in general terms, the salaries are stabilizing in a general way. So that was the most jarring thing to see. And we just thought, yeah, we were right, and it's the market is in fact coming to a more stable way in terms of salaries.
Yes. So let's move forward from Rui Gramage as well. So basically, what we've been noticing over the past few years, I would say. It's yes, the market rotation is much higher when compared to a few years back. If a few years back I had that old issue with clients saying, "Oh, but the candidate is jumping every 2 years," and that was definitely an issue. We now notice that that is very common practice. So 2 years in a company, 1 year in a company is a very common practice. So the market accelerated a lot over the past 2 to 3 to 4 years, I would say. And we did notice that in the higher rotation. So there is the challenge of how to retain this talent. How do we maintain them? And that's the whole discussion for another time, I would say. But an interesting one as well. Yes, you will have access to the presentation. It can be downloaded on our website as well. And thank you. And the last question. And that's a very good question as well. Yes, of course, we still see a lot of layoffs taking place, and despite it sort of slowed down a little bit, we still see a lot happening. And of course, that puts some pressure towards the salaries because there's more talent available. Given we work in a competitive market, supply and demand will always play its part in a way that if we have more talent availability, the salaries will typically decrease. Since there's more to choose from. So yes, the layoffs have a significant impact on the salary bands. So the study is heavily relying on senior developers' data. Yes, we have the biggest amount of the sample is senior profiles. Nonetheless, in our full study, in the full document, there is also salaries for less senior profiles and even for junior profiles as well. And we provide the benchmark for 2024 for different levels of seniority, from junior to mid to senior to even lead and moving forward. And last but not least, it is important to, is it possible to rewatch the session? Yes, it's being recorded and yeah, possibly going to be shared in the future. Shall we answer one more, or do we still have time? 31 minutes. I'll go for another question, and this will be the last one. Do you see a difference in companies, in data between the companies headquartered in Portugal against international companies based elsewhere? Yes, we do see. So companies who solely operate in Portugal tend to have a more strict policy when it comes to budgeting, and the budget tends to be more challenging to attract talent in Portugal. Not to say that it happens to all of them, but some of them. And we typically see that more from companies who are operating in the Portuguese market per se. And companies when come from abroad, it will depend on how well informed they are. And that brings to the beginning of this research and beginning of this presentation as well, because what we've noticed as well is that several companies were bringing operations to Portugal that were not as well informed as they should be, and then they have to reassess all the budget that they had for that specific operation. But overall, normally companies coming from abroad have wider budgets and try to bring that to Portugal as well, and try to even out with the operations they have abroad as well, and sort of evened out. And that puts, of course, some pressure on the companies who are local and need to compete, of course, with foreign companies that have bigger funds, I would say. And that's pretty much it. So thank you everyone for watching. I'll now pass on the word. Let me see if I can find out, but I'll pass on the word to João Franqueira from Coverflex. Here you are. And I'm inviting João Franqueira. João?
Well, here I am.
Okay, so João, I'll leave it to you, and thanks everyone else for joining us and for this session and for being here, and see you next time.
Thank you.
And thank you, and I'll leave the stage.
Thank you for bringing me to the stage, and thank you everyone who's watching us. Well, I was invited, and it's an honor to be here as a moderator. We will have two incredible guests that we will try to moderate with your questions and our questions. Yesterday, when we were preparing this session, there were a lot of nice discussions, and that we understood that culture, for example, is a hot topic. Compensation is more than salary, and we will speak about it. Here I have Manjuri with me on stage, and now we will have the other guest. Here he is, Sorin. Welcome, Manjuri. Welcome, Sorin. Elif is also here with us. I'd like to begin with some questions, because compensation is more than salary. And yesterday we talked about culture and leadership and everything that impacts loyalty and engagement in our employees. So the first question, and I would like to present it to Manjuri, is employees today prioritize purpose, values, and culture in their jobs. How can companies ensure that our cultures evolve in a way that we can retain talent? I don't like the word retaining, but how can we keep our most valued talent within our companies? Are there signs of cultural mismatch that may be driving turnover? What do you think about it?
Absolutely, Joao, and that's a very thought-provoking question. And like Helio earlier said, you can go long on these questions as such. This is very interesting. There's a recent report from Gartner that talked about the break between one of the major trends that they saw end of 2023. There was a huge break between the employer-employee trust, and this trust is exactly what is based in the culture of the organization. And it's no surprise, of course, we've been through a full year of layoffs with humongous cuts that organizations have made. There's a whole story behind it on budgeting, planning, and kind of really going ahead of your plans, etc., and growing at a very fast pace, etc. So that's putting that behind us. This trust factor is something that we have to put back in place. There's another aspect to culture, which is about mental well-being, and we bring our whole self to work. We've also seen in the report right now that the population that works with us, especially around Gen Z, really looks at mental well-being and well-being as one of the main things when they're at work. And this is another aspect. When you look at Glassdoor report, they said the word of the year for 2023 was anxiety. There was a 138% increase in the number of times the word anxiety was used in these surveys on Glassdoor. So it really boils down to the fact that yes, we see the whole competition upfront in quantified in number of salaries going up, and there's a competition there. But if you look at the overall package and compensation, this is what organizations need to break down today. So when you talk about the value proposition or the EVP of a company, this is the culture, are really going back and understanding what are employees looking at, because yes, it's for employees, it's also for candidates, it's also for alumni. What are they looking at? What is very important today? Where are the trust factors which have dropped down? These are signals that come from your engagement surveys, and actually step on those factors. Leadership communication, making it more transparent wherever it's further possible. Engaging your managers to ensure that communication is transferred, a purposeful, a really committing vision of the organization as such. That's also something that we saw in the survey that matters to people. Focusing on mental well-being, we've recently had an excellent case study of launching Better Up Care program for the entire organization after a pilot, where we saw quantifiable difference that happened. So I think these are factors that really matter. The other factor where our culture of an organization matters is around decisions on work practices. For example, hybrid, remote, office first, home first, what kind of format are we in? We can already see, yes, on the positive side, that if we do go remote, we can take advantage of bigger talent pools and probably a little bit less of salary competition, etc. But we have to strike a balance on the engagement, because you still have some face-to-face engagement which is required. So how do you strike that balance and still walk that path? You shouldn't commit something today and then revert on the same commitment right after that. So this culture factor is really, really important. So breaking down and really going and doing a whole study on what you need in your within your organization. There's a lot of data already available with your engagement surveys, your exit interviews. Why do people leave you? If you do stay interviews, why do people stay with you? And then kind of doubling down on this, making it a holistic package and not a zero-sum game of just talking about compensation and salary.
Let me grab that. Why do people leave? And go to Sorin. Sorin, leadership problems often emerge as reasons for leaving jobs. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, to follow in Manjuri's line of thought, not that I've seen, but I strongly believe that leadership is the cause in many situations. Actually, 50% of 57% of employees that left the job, they left because of their manager. It's something mind-blowing. And people are thinking, why is that? Well, most of the time it's because you spend, in many situations, more than the time that you spend at home with family. You are spending at work. You are spending with the people that have an influence on you. And who has the most influence? It's usually the leadership and your direct manager. So obviously people leave because they leave managers, not companies in general, right? There's an aspect that it's kind of hidden to some extent, because so I'll try to point towards the scenario, right? Imagine we were talking and we saw the difference between youngsters, the new joiners in this tech world, and when you look at the hiring, at getting talent, there are two aspects of it. There are the hard skills that you are trying to look for, and then there are the soft skills, so-called, that you are looking for. The hard ones are pretty clear. When it comes to soft, it's a combination of three things. It's the work ethic, it's the people skills, and then it's the personality of the person, right? And when you hire new people from school, they are at the beginning of their career. Majority of the time, the interest and the focus from requisition to recruitment and during the interview, people are looking mostly for the hard skills. Do they know how to code? Do they do that? Do they do the other thing? And soft skills are touched a little bit here and there, but it's very important for you to know how to write a loop in choose your language, Python, because it's been so used before. And as they evolve, you learn about their character, and their personality. Good, they're still around, then about their work ethic. Yeah, they're hard workers and all that. You have no idea about people skills until you promote them to a leadership or management position. I'm saying or because it's really a combination. When you're a manager, you need to be a leader and so forth. I'm not going to get into that. But the moment you get into a position like that, you need to have the soft skills. And then we wonder, why is that? The soft management, the soft skills are not there and the managers don't know what. Well, because, and this is one of the reasons that goes also towards the previous question, there's no training. We don't train people for these soft skills. Although 91% of tech employees would like to get more training from their companies, and almost half of them are saying, teach me soft skills, send me somewhere to understand how to talk to people, how to present, how to do stuff. And meanwhile, only 18% of companies, I'm a stats guy if you didn't figure this out, are actually inclined and do something about that. So this is...
Allow me to interrupt you. But
yes,
aren't we going in a direction when we are talking about skills-based approach that will guide us there? When you only focus on, or mostly focus on skills, I think we are having a problem ahead and we are not seeing it. And maybe you are just bringing one of the solutions is to train. But imagine, everyone now is talking about the future of work. It started with gig workers and now we are hiring for skills-based. So if we are hiring for skills and the skill is programming or developing code, whatever, you are not betting on soft skills, at least for now, at least the model that we are speaking about, or everyone's speaking about. So what do you think about it?
Exactly. So at the bottom, unfortunately, is the fact that when we are hiring today, we are trying to fit for the role, and obviously, and everybody somehow imagines that fit for the role is fit for the job. In other words, if my knowledge and the skills match the requirements of the job, and I also I'm presentable and I can speak in a coherent text, come in. But there are 4 other aspects that really fit for the role. We should from creation of the job description to how we filter people and create the cohort that we will interview, which hopefully is not a big cohort, but that's a different story. And then the interview itself, how and what we are looking for. So there are 4 aspects, right? The first one is this person fit for the organization? It's exactly going to the first question. Yeah, the culture, yes, we need to do stuff, but is the person that is gonna join actually aligned? How well the beliefs and personality is actually aligning with our company, with culture and values that we have, right? Then there's a team fit, wherever we want to put that person into. How well are they fitting with the coworkers? Is there going to be an issue? Is there going to be, maybe the person is older than all the other ones? Can we consider this? How is this? Can we figure this out, right? Then it's with the direct manager. So yes, usually that's the hiring manager, cool. But that hiring manager really needs to understand, are they going to be able to work with this person? Is this person a top person? Because, I don't remember who said this, but just remember the quote. We are the average of the 5 most close persons that that are around us, right? Really the average. So that's why we need to surround ourselves with really smart people, right? So we have to hire those, and we have to understand that we can work and they have potential for future. And the last one, and then I'll shut up. It's fit with the person's vocation, right? So it's not, until now it was all on company side. No, there is an aspect. I mean, is this job gonna fit their interest, their preference, their personality? It's aligning with what they want to do. Because otherwise, it's really, that position is gonna suck for everybody. So in my mind, if we add besides the fit for job, maybe we can do a bit better of getting those people in.
So we should bring the who, not only the what. Is that right?
Bring the who.
Yeah.
Who's on first?
I totally agree with that point of bringing the who, João and Soren, because one of the main things that I have seen that lacks on the leadership roles until now is two main things on the who part of the things, like personal qualities, which Soren mentioned, like the personal set of values that the person has, the person own self-image, the self-esteem of the person in the first. So a leader can only be a leader if he is feeling good with his own skin, because if the person is not aware of his own struggles, then he's going to project that same struggles to other people, right? And so it's super important that you are feeling okay with yourself, so you don't project your own behaviors into others, right? And then the second thing is self-awareness of knowledge limitations, right? One thing that is like your role as a leader is not to know everything more than your own team. Your role is to make them feel safe, secure, and to give them recognition and care. So in the end, you need to care about the others, and that's the main thing. You cannot fake the care that you are going to be putting on that team. So that's the main thing that I see that is lacking on the leadership part of the who, that when we are hiring people, that certain part is lacking in comparison to the hard skills.
So, Elio, can I assume that the 2 main takeaways from the thing that you just said, one is go to a therapist, and the second one is be humble, always learn. Is that it?
Yes. Yeah. So if you are aware of your knowledge limitations, then you have to be humble, and you have to know where they begin and when they end, right? You have to accept that you don't need to know everything. And the other part, it's to go to a therapist, because I think is highly overrated, underrated. I mean, the fact that still we are giving some timeline about mental health. We share posts, we put on Instagram, but how many of us go and deal with our own personal struggles to a therapist? And you don't need to have any specific mental health problems at the moment, or depression or anxiety based, but we all have problems to solve, right? Because we all have a past. So I think it's part of it.
I
Thank you.
think,
So
Joel, also just to add to what Helio said, it's a breakdown of what we'll see in the future. And this is something that I heard in the LinkedIn Talent Connect conference in New York last year in October. So it's all about breaking down the traditional job descriptions into skills, and skills are definitely functional skills, the technical skills that we just spoke about. So all the Flutters and Pythons and JavaScripts and Javas of the world. But the thriving part of an employee, when you thrive as an employee, or you thrive as a person, or you thrive as an organization, that will come from the super skills, which are human skills, interestingly. Things that we call as soft skills. These are the skills of adaptability, of resilience, of anti-fragility. And this is what we need as organizations, we need to develop for our employees. And even as human beings, we need to work on these skills for ourselves. These can be learned. Contrary to popular belief, these can be learned. Yes, of course, you could have had a life where you've probably been an expat, you've moved countries, so you get more of an anti-fragility as a part of that. But so these are the breakdowns of your technical skills, your human skills, and of course, there's a part of the whole JD which in the future would also be broken down into what is automatable, what can Gen AI take over as a part of that, and let's face it, this is going to revolutionize the entire workplace as we see today. So this has to be a holistic factor. So these character skills and human skills will definitely take a center stage going forward.
very interesting insights. Thank you. It was I liked the part of the super skills. If you allow me, I will start to use them.
Please.
Job description or super skills. So, Elliot, talking about the study itself, the study shows senior engineering salaries are rising faster than engineering management. Does this gap deprioritize people management skills? Going in the flow of what we were talking about, is it better now to keep ourselves as individual contributors than managers?
No, I didn't think so. I think this gap that we are seeing now is a result of the microeconomics that we are living currently on. So as we move further in 2024, I think we are going to see more companies involving their hiring plans to accommodate more roles for managers and for leadership roles that have been, for the most part, in the last year and a half, a little bit more toned down, or in much less demand than before. So that's why we're seeing this gap a little bit wide at the moment. But in my opinion, if you look now in 1 year ahead, we are going to see them, like being more and more widened as it was before. So that's one thing. The other point is that I think as companies evolve and they scale more and they become bigger, they end up having career paths that permeate in terms of salary, individual contributors, and at the same time managers in the same kind of scale of pay. So this becomes less of a problem as companies adapt, and make career paths that are congruent with the growth of individual contributors within the company, so they don't have to leave to receive bigger salary or move for engineering managers lacking the skills that were mentioned before.
Yeah, it is true.
Yeah, and I will also probably add a little bit of pinch of salt in the not in the survey. The survey is pretty clear, but on the part of organizations, Joao, not many organizations actually do the due diligence of a proper grading exercise of what good looks like, right? I mean, if you can break it up in experience terms, but there's much more than just experience when you complete the whole interviewing process, etc. So do we know in our organization what good looks like at, say, a junior, mid-level, senior, and then you go to the staff and principal, and then you take the management route, right? So that breakdown, then like Helio said, after that grading exercise, do you really do the banding exercise as well as per the required competencies, etc.? How many organizations actually have this laid on, whether you do it on basis of Tower Watson or any other any other base? Are we even doing that? And that's where you can compare apples and oranges. Otherwise it becomes very difficult in comparing when you don't know what is the original base of the grading that calls a particular leader manager. Is it a manager who's just leading 2 people, Is that fair as a cover? Or are we actually talking about people managers who are doing full people management and probably looking at maybe 5 to 6 or even a little more than 5 to 6 people there?
Yeah, the study doesn't show it, only shows managing, right? So yes, we may not be comparing apples with apples.
I would build on that. This is exactly aligned to immediately when you ask the question like net. It's this thing about managers and seniors, exactly like you said, Helio. There are two different tracks. The IC needs to be as valuable as managers, but there is this concept in everybody's head, and I've seen this in Portugal. I'm originally Romanian. I left a while ago, but I've seen that over there too. I'm still seeing it today. The concept that if I want to make more money, I need to be a manager. I mean, I remember talking with friends when I was young, and parents like, oh my God, so and so is a director. Yes, that's why he has that big house. And well, it was for other reasons because but at the end of the day, people thought I have power and I have money, and that concept has not changed. Only if I'm a manager, only if I'm actually going to be able, how am I make a difference? Oh, I'm going to influence a bunch of guys and tell them what to do, which is completely wrong. But it's how the society told us, and what we've seen, and what we've seen everywhere where we went. We've seen authoritarian management, and we've seen, oh yeah, I want to copy that. And that is the change that needs to happen right now, and the new generation is trying to do that. And there are still people around and companies around that are not really switched on that thing, but they soon will, because people will leave. So take it or leave it.
Thank you very much. Just to, while all of you who are watching us, please write your questions if you have some. We will have one or two other questions, and then we will have a Q&A, so you can participate in our conversation too. Getting back to us, with senior engineers that we have seen earning 2 or 3 times more as juniors, is there a risk of distortion of expectations? Are junior people wanting to grow up fast so they can earn more? What's your takeaway about this? What do you think? The question is for all of you.
Well, I think that it's pretty much the same situation with any other area than IT, right? You have this difference of 2 or 3 times more between juniors and seniors. And I rather hire juniors that want to grow fast than one that doesn't want to grow, right? So at least in my opinion, that's a good trait to have, right? Because the person is more interested in their own progression. And so I see that this impatience that may happen is actually a great driver if well used by the company, in the sense that there is career paths, in the sense that there is a process in place that can accommodate growth by the skill set that is earned by the person while the person is at the job, right? So if that happens, then you can use that impatience in a positive way to foster growth inside. So I don't think there is a distortion for the most part if you have this in place. However, it may, you have one side of the coin that is positive, and then you have one side of the coin that is negative. Some people may expect growth without much work being done. Well, and that will just create frustration for everyone involved. So I think that there is a good side and a bad side. It just depends on the companies to use that to the advantage of the growth of the person and of the company.
I think also overall, Joao, the impression, especially I think the whole last year that we've seen, and we see it even now, it's not the same as last year, but we've still seen some layoffs, companies announcing layoffs. There's some companies that said that they are still going to continue doing some cuts in this 1 year, etc. As we heard from tech companies in the US who have offices across Europe and APAC as well. this sense of the market normalizing is there with candidates as well, and people in the market. So you really have to be probably living on planet Mars to not know that it is normalizing. If and we've been there. Helio was also supporting us in our scale up in 2021, and we've been there. We've seen the kind of competition that used to happen in the markets, and we were hiring across different countries in Europe and also in India. And I can say that India was a cutthroat market more than anything that I'd ever seen, even in Europe at that point of time. Because of the volume, people were hiring more there, and you had candidates having almost 9 to 10 competing offers. And the kind of percentages, there were salaries that had gone increased by 30 to even exaggerated to 60%. It was madness. It was real madness there. And looking at even that market that has really normalized, and now you have this realization that yes, now it's a different market. There's a different parameter, etc. So you cannot just go out and say, okay, I want to get that faster. Of course, if somebody wants to learn and grow and this encourages them, it's okay. But it's not just because I want to increase my salary, I can switch and grow. That's definitely not there. I think the candidates are pretty mature enough there. What on the flip side for organizations, I think now it's a good thing. What most companies didn't have the time to, and we were competing in the same market, was we were in this situation where most of us were hiring in the senior bucket as well. So we've, as organizations, tech organizations all across, we've actually fueled this entire, hungry hippo, if I may say so, as well. So it's now really time to be intentional and feed the bottom of the pyramid. Like Helio said, look at bringing in talent for your academy programs or your training programs, and really intentionally then grow them. This gives you the intentionality of growing people with, like we were talking about, those super skills, intentionality of growing people with the skills of the future. And this is more of a cohort that you can grow and develop as well, rather than going really heavy, making your staff cost also super high and filling everything in the senior bucket. Then you're also clogging the promotions for your mid levels if you're just doing that. So that intentionality will have to come in with most organizations.
Sorry, yesterday off stage, you had an interesting opinion about job hopping and what companies are not doing well, so people hop to another job. Would you like to share it with everyone? Because I think it was very insightful.
The bunny hopping.
Yeah.
Yes. People hop, and you've heard in a presentation before on the deck, that in the past, 2 years was considered hopping. Was considered a bit weird. Nowadays, I'm seeing people actually, I know people jumping from a position to position every 9 months. So it's almost the exact amount of time you make a child. So it's a lot of jumping around, and one reason is money. And nowadays, probably it's more like other times. But like you were saying, Manjuri, there's normalization that happens, right? And when that happens, there are other factors that are gonna. It's about retaining, about what we do to not keep people around and retaining. I understood you all. I don't like it either, but the other word is even worse: attrition. I mean, people. You want to interest people to work with, to entice them to stay around, right? And to answer you, right? I have several suggestions. Maybe some would, but I've seen them working in the past. Some work more, some less. One that I think it's crucial when somebody comes in and we hire them is to plan a proper, onboarding process. To have that initiation, that welcoming, not just a shake of hands and good luck to you and we'll see each other in a month, but an integration from all levels into what we are doing, the team, on both skills, hard and soft, right? And then as somebody progresses, and this doesn't matter if you are a junior or a senior or even a principal that comes in, right? All of these, no respect to who's joining. But the other is aligning work with aligning work with the strength of the person. How should I put it better? Finding the work that actually makes them interested, but also is important for the company. So in other words, you want to have people be excited of coming to work and doing the work and thinking that they make and understanding that they make a contribution also to the company, right? Recognition. I'm struggling to remember the stats, but it doesn't come to me, frankly. But recognition is one of the highest things people are complaining about, and Helio knows this, and I think Manjuri knows this too, and Joao, I suspect you too. That people are coming to their managers or to their friends or to, man, I put all this work in and nobody's actually giving a flying rat about it, or they didn't notice, or I stayed there overnight the other week. I mean, not everything counts, because I run the risk of alienating some of you out there, but the new generation, it has its own a little problems of quick expectations, but independent of that, all of this recognition is important for it's a fuel. Why am I doing this? Is anybody noticing me, right? And the last, I talked about it, is the training bit, is to expect, to enable, to facilitate continuous development, and obviously to expect it from people. There are other things, obviously, but to me these are the top four that so we can do.
Everyone likes to be noticed and recognized. Wise words.
That's absolutely true. That's actually true. Listen, with the new generation and the seniority, and I want to just when we are young, remember, when you are young, we always want to be old. Oh my God, we start smoking because we see our parents smoking. We try to drive the car fast and to wear suits and stuff, if you are a boy. And then when you are a junior, you want to be a senior, to have more influence, to actually get more money, to learn. I'm telling you, you get there and you say, man, this sucks. I really enjoyed those young years. And you can ask everyone that's actually senior that's going to say that. So there's a normal way of things. Enjoy that, cherish that, and use your impatience to drive yourself forward.
Well, your back allows you to. So being time conscious. And last question for Manjuri and Ellie. Manjuri, you are working in a global framework, and diversity and inclusion is a big topic right now. At least in my working days, I feel when we are trying to hire someone, it's starting to happening. So have you got any type of candidate who says, I don't want to work there, or I really want to work there because of diversity and inclusion topics?
Yes, I think that is it's also the recent surveys that talk about what matters to candidates in today's age, and there are key themes which are coming across. Of course, the the mission of the organization. What is the organization ultimately working towards, right? So, and in that we have breakups of the ESG, so your climate impact, is it sustainable, etc., and big themes of inclusion, belongingness, diversity, and not just, I think we easily resort to binary gender diversity topics, but I think more than that, all different kinds of diversity, be it people with disabilities, neurodiversity, LGBTQI. So this entire remit has a big sense. Even during interviews, candidates are interested in figuring this out. So when you talk about the cost of attractiveness, I think it's very important to be transparent and authentic from your branding onwards. So even when you look at your career site, do you have stock pictures there, or do you have actually employee images there, or employee stories that people are talking about? And this really matters to people. For leadership exec hires, especially, because that's also a bucket where we have challenge on diverse talent and population there. So we've seen, especially for tech roles, when we are interviewing women, they really want to see a diverse panel. How many women are there? And hopefully they don't meet the only woman who's there on the panel from HR, but also from the tech world or some other function there. So definitely very important, Joel. This is really key for candidates and talent that we hire, we have in our organizations, and there's no two ways about it.
Thank you. Helio, do you see this
No doubt.
tendency happening here in Portugal too?
Yeah, I see that tendency happening in Portugal, albeit a little bit slower than, for example, in the US or other international markets. I do think I think Manjuri answered quite well, so I'm just going to expand in another part of the question itself, which is, I think diversity is great to promote some sort of different thinking within the organization in itself. Because there is one thing, and that's a pet peeve of mine, that is called cultural fit. Okay, so cultural fit can work in a certain way, has discriminating, for a certain number of traits that the employee may have, right? And so often I see cultural fit being thrown around in terms of feedback from several companies about candidates, and that kind of makes me a little bit sick sometimes, because I don't think that such thing exists. I think what exists in reality is that there is no such thing as cultural fit. There is company values and personal values for the most part that then create the culture that you are speaking about. And for the most part, when you are speaking about those kinds of fits, is what is the values of this person? These soft skills that spoke before about the managers and so on. So when I go to a company webpage and they put their beautiful company values of, like, imagine, we all know a company that starts with G that they say don't be evil. It's one of the company values, but then they sell kind of software for some companies that and some situations that can be a little bit tricky, right? And then you have companies that say, well, be kind, and the CEO doesn't say thank you to anyone, and it's kind of an asshole, right? So, and then we have situations where we say, well, we promote work-life balance, right? But then all the leadership works until 8 hours. I expect the others to do the same and to be available, right? So this is cultural fit at the end of the day that you are speaking about, is the sort of personal values that then drive those organizations. So as a leader of my company, what are my personal values are going, the positive and the negative ones are the ones that are going to be impacting the cultural part of my company and the people that stay in the company or leave. So for me, that kind of tendency creates, for the most part, kind of a stigma of don't rock the boat too much, right? That's why we want to hire within a specific cultural fit. And by promoting diversity of several things, not just of gender, not just of what we are speaking for the most part in terms of LGBT, but about other ways of thinking, of being, we are actually combating this cultural fit that we have been spreading for way too long in terms of feedbacking of candidates and of companies. I think that way we can actually create more diverse environments that have a more diverse way of accommodating thinking and being. And that makes a different sort of company.
Nice.
Absolutely.
So I see there's no it's not there's many questions for us. I'll give you 1 minute if any of you want to raise a question for us to answer, and I'll try to summarize what we have been talking about today. What brought us here was the ultimate guide to hiring tech talent in Portugal. We started talking about salaries, but compensation is more than a salary, as I said in the beginning. And you just brought that with all your incredible insights. And I want to thank you all for your sharing. We could summarize this with just this transparency and allowing people to be themselves. At least from your words, that's what I heard. At least my mind, that's what it wants to hear. But I think we are all right in the sense of making the work more approachable and humane as possible. Since there are no questions, I don't know if you want to say something else, but thank you very much for your time and these interesting insights.
Sure. I just want to add that having had an office in Portugal for such a long time now, I am in awe of the talent that sits there. Excellent talent sits in Portugal. Tech talent, non-tech talent. It's amazing. It's the other fact that I love the food and the wine is not biasing my but the talent is great. What I'd probably put and ask for the next year's survey result, and the question would be even a comparative or a parity or comparison with other tech hubs in Europe, because what we see in the tech market, these are coming very closer these days. We used to play with differentials of Zurich and Berlin and Amsterdam and Lisbons of the world, but these are now coming very close based on the skills. So from next year onwards, it'll be good to see even this kind of change and some inputs there. How is that impacting the salary increases? But all in all, great talent. Love Portugal for that.
Well, thank you very much. Sorry, also likes the food and the wine. He was saying yes.
I totally do.
We are losing you.
I was here. I think everywhere I went with accent. My
sorry, you are having.
Okay.
Sorry, we are having problems hearing you.
Do you now? Not even now.
We lost you on the food and the wine.
Okay.
We understand why. So, Helly, would you like to add something, or we can close our session?
Yeah, I was just, I'm super biased regarding this study, but I'm super proud of my team for being able to come up with such a study that we have been trying to do for a while. It's really a proud moment for all Damia and for me specifically, because we have had this idea for a long time, and the team created from scratch something that makes me amazed. And so I'm super, super proud of them. Thank you for your work that you have put on this document that is going to help several companies that are already in Portugal and that are still coming. So this is the type of document that I wish that I had done, but I couldn't. They did. So thank you for that. And in another way, I also would like to thank Manjuri and Sorin and you, João, for being here, because it just added a lot to the discussion. Several questions that we had, we had so different perspectives regarding the same question, and it just makes it super interesting for us to look at compensation in such a way. So thank you for your presence.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation.
You indeed.
Pleasure.
Thank you, João, for the lovely moderation as well.
Thank you very much.
Your time and your questions.
We can't hear you, sorry. Right.
Wait, did he put anything in the chat or no? Okay.
No, we don't have questions in the chat. Only people saying that it was amazing. Thank you for all the great discussion. Thank you, panel. So thank you very much for all of you who were with us until now and for your time and attention. Bye-bye.
Thank
See you
you.
soon.